You may have noticed that when it comes to erecting standing stones, our ancient ancestors did like to stick a big one up. So today we're going to answer that age-old question of, does size really matter? So let's look at why we get different sizes of standing stones. So you're wandering through the countryside one day and you come across this massive whopper of a standing stone. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, blimey, that's a big one. Why did they put that standing stone there? And then you look around the clearing and you think, oh look, there's another standing stone, but it's much smaller. Why is that one so big and why is that one so small? The eternal question. So if we look at it from a side view, let's say you've got different streams and they tend to cross under standing stones. This is a common position for standing stones, is over crossing streams. So you've got one stream, let's say, that's coming away and coming towards us. On another level, you may have another one going from over here and going in that direction. Looked at from the plan view, from above, they cross over. From a side view, they're kind of doing two different things. So over this crossing point, when we use dowsing, which is a technique used by earth energy workers or geomancers, you might be familiar with the eastern form of geomancy, which is feng shui, but there's a western form as well. This is where we usually find a common position for standing stones. Single standing stones is over crossing water. So why is that stone so big and why is that stone so small? Now we need to look a little bit at the principles of earth energy. So there's your feng shui symbol. You want this balance of energies, balance of masculine and feminine, positive, negative, yin and yang. So what we find, and we have known this in many cultures all around the world, that certain places are better for us to live in. These places with a nicely balanced energy are good, they're healthy, plants and animals thrive, we thrive, health, mentally, emotionally, our societies thrive, our activities thrive, and in other areas, things are not so good. We don't see the same results. And actually, strangely enough, when we measure the levels of what's called paramagnetism in soil, we find that areas that have what is called low paramagnetism in soil, this is a measurable electromagnetic frequency, this type of area corresponds to societies that are less affluent, they're more fractious, they're more warlike, they're more argumentative, people are unhappy, people are aggressive. And that's because of where they live, the soil type. Whereas we get a more balanced level of energies, everything goes so right. So what has that got to do with this? Well, when we get underground water, there are particular flows related to depth, geography and flow. So this is not all streams, but you will get particular streams that give off detrimental energy that rises to the surface. Where that energy rises, we get this kind of thing. We are not happy and nothing goes right. So we want to get rid of that energy. So the best way to do that is to earth it back down with a stone that is has a high paramagnetic quality, so it can store the piezoelectricity and it actually earths it back down into the ground. So this is when we've got an area, a bigger area, that is affected by water, that is giving off geopathic stress, as it's called, negative energy, that means we don't thrive. So we want to move that energy from an unhealthy state to a positive state, and this is one of the mechanisms of doing it. So when we have crossing underground water, let's look at it from above. These are two streams that are giving off negative energy. And what happens when we get these is they give rise to like a vortice of energy, and I'll draw it. Let me find another pen. It's like a vortice of energy that rises up from the water. The depth is important. So that when you get the above ground energy here, which would be negative, it rises in like a vortice. And actually it may do that several times, one on top of another. So the way to anchor that down is to find a stone that is big enough to earth this vortice down when it's at its bigger. And these vortices change. They change when we've got a full moon. A new moon. They change when we've got a full moon. They change over the phases of the year. So whether it's spring or summer or autumn or winter. So this vortice changes shape and size. So what we're looking for is a stone that is big enough to earth that energy down when it's at its most powerful, which is normally at midsummer. So we would look around. If ancient man could see energy the way I can, what he would look around and he would see that this negative energy rises in vortices. And what happens if you don't put a big enough stone up? So you've got a rising vortice and it looks quite small. And you think, oh, it only needs a small stone. And then by the time midsummer comes, it's like this. If your stone is only that big, it ceases to earth this negativity energy back down into the ground. So it just doesn't work. So this is why the size of the stones is important. So we're looking for, particularly, and if you're a dowser, you can try this. You're looking for 2 crossing streams, and you're looking for having a rising vortex, because the streams are giving off detrimental energy, and the stone has to be big enough to earth this energy back down. These vortices do change, as I say, over the phases of the moon and the phases of the year. So the stone has to be big enough to earth the vortice at midsummer to transform the energy from being one where we don't thrive to being a place that we can thrive. And it's interesting that these stones more or less started to be erected when we ceased to be nomadic, when we started to become farmer settlers, because we recognised that now we were in this area, it didn't have the right energy to support us, so we needed to do something about it. So it's an ancient technology that has evolved over time, and nowadays we get different structures. So in Ireland, for instance, you'll get the tall round towers, and you can miniaturize those to even put them in your own garden so that they earth down detrimental energy in a small space. So you can go for the megalith size, or you can go for the mini-lith size, and both of them will work. This is removing detrimental area from a big area of the landscape, but you can use a little one to remove it from your own home and garden. So I hope that has explained that yes, size really does matter.